Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have a small claims case where a man is suing his former friend and landlord for a $10,000 reimbursement of rent. He claims he deserves it because of how poorly he was treated by his former friend. He spent 6 months before the trial making hundreds of crazy Facebook posts where he taunts, threatens, and rants at his former friend. I've included most of these Facebook posts in the video. So what does the judge think of this guy's rants? Let's find out.
Knowledgeable walking into this, I guess, into the basis of what we're requesting today. And but I do want to hear your sides of the story because obviously I don't know everything. When this is done, I'll offer my judgment. That's just pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. I do want to just state that I can only offer monetary reimbursement. So anything in regards to harassment or stuff like that, that is not what I do. I'm just here to pay money back if someone so deserves it. So as long as anyone doesn't, do either of you have any questions I would state, I guess, or ask? Okay. All right, well then at this time, Mr. Knight, if you could please just mute yourself again, so that way no noises are in the background during Mr. Lee's testimony. Mr. Lee, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth during this proceeding?
Yes.
Can you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Dale Lee, Leigh.
Perfect, thank you, Mr. Lee. Go forward with your testimony.
Okay, from April of 2021 to January of 2025, I shared a house with a defendant via a verbal agreement of rent. Over the course of that time, he breached several aspects of the duties and responsibilities of a landlord, including the obligation of good faith, maintaining the premises, providing a reasonable program for the control of infestation by insects, rodents, and other pests, and the most egregious of which was the breach of the covenant of quiet enjoyment, which ultimately led to such an unlivable environment that I was forced to move. I am seeking damages in the form of a diminished rental value from April of 2023 through January of 2025, as laid out in the Revised Code of Washington, 5918. The RCW does apply to verbal agreements, and as far as I can tell, the defense has provided no implication of my failures as a tenant. So the majority of the evidence that I have provided in the packet confirms a pattern of behavior which illustrates the defendant acting in bad faith via verbal agreements, which he took advantage of repeatedly. But the key point of this particular case begins with the letter in the personal journal entries, marked 423. And this constitutes what was presented to the defendant at the end of living with a third roommate. And it constitutes the verbal agreement made at the time between me and him going forward from that point on. So that would be April of 2023. Within this letter, I made it clear that I was not okay with the standard of responsibility put forth by the landlord, and a serious increase in responsibilities was required at that time.
I'm sorry, when did you write that letter?
It was...
Or when is your personal journal entry written? Yes. What is this dated?
I'm not entirely sure when it was written, but I know that the date that it was presented to the defendant in the conversation about increasing rent was 3/26/23, I believe.
Okay, so March 26th of 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, I had a separate place lined up I could afford to have moved to, and the defendant convinced me that he would make serious efforts. A trial period was established of 3 months in which his irresponsible behaviors continued to escalate just within the first few weeks, long enough for the rental property that I was looking at to go off the market. At the time, I was also working 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, and so it was very difficult for me to find any alternative place to live. This job also wound up forcing me onto the graveyard shift in mid-2024, which changed my sleep schedule. And it was brought up to the defendant at that time that he was waking me up. He suggested at that time that I close my door in order to remedy the situation. I did attempt that for 2 weeks, and it actually escalated the noise. It seemed to give him permission to be louder. This was supposed to be short-term on graveyard, but they wound up keeping me on graveyard for 6 months, and I found a separate job during that time. And I got that new job in September of 2024. I was only working 3 to 4 days at that new job, so this allowed me to begin more seriously looking for new places and began seeking legal assistance. On November the 9th, a final frustrated response was written via instant message regarding being woken up repeatedly over that time. And again, he claimed that he was interested in making efforts. At this point, I began keeping a list, a timeline of each time I was woken up, what woke me up to the best of my abilities, and pictures of other breaches of landlord responsibility. While the majority of that photo and video evidence are from November of 2024 to January of 2025, much of the other evidence that I've supplied in instant messages shows that this pattern goes back all the way to April of 2021.
Okay. Who is Mr. Knight in relation to you, I guess, first and foremost?
We went to the same school. We met on the bus and we had been friends ever since. I am 38 years old, so that is a 20-year friendship.
Okay, so a 20-year friendship that started from riding the bus.
Yes.
Okay. Solid beginnings. So you lived on the property from April 2021 until January 2025. So that's almost 4 years, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said it was a verbal agreement, so no lease.
Yes.
So you wouldn't incur any fines for leaving?
No.
Okay. Was there anything stated that pets were not allowed on the property?
No.
Okay. And to clarify, this is Mr. Knight's property, right? He is the owner.
Yes.
And he allowed you to move into one of the rooms, or asked. I don't know the dynamic, but you were renting a portion of the house from him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there were just communal living areas, communal kitchen, the kitchen, dining area, everything was communal, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How did you get to $10,000?
That is the so the rent was increased that March to April of 2023 from $700 to $1,200, $500 a month difference. And through that period of time to the time that I moved out, equates to $10,500.
And you weren't okay with this increase in rent, or were you okay with it at the time? It's just the
increase in rent was subject to the conversation that we had at the time of the other roommate moving out and determining what we would do moving forward.
I guess what's strange to me is you keep having personal journal entries, you keep sending him emails requesting changes, you keep on finding all these issues with the house, and you lived there for almost 4 years. Why didn't you just move out? And I understand you can say that, and you state you could afford stuff. You were working 60 hours a week doing graveyard. It seems like you were financially capable. I understand maybe there's a time limitation of being able to find another unit, but if you send him an email and give him a 3-month remedial period and it doesn't occur, then why do you keep staying there? Why did you not move out?
First off, like I said, I was working 6 days a week, 60 hours a week. The majority of my time was just trying to continue working at my job. But also, there were multiple conversations that we had where he would reassert that he was going to make changes. As we had a 20-year friendship, I would love to err on the side of assuming that he was actually going to make genuine efforts during that time. It wasn't until the November conversations that we had where he made it clear that he either wasn't able or wasn't willing to honor his responsibilities.
How many times would you say between April 2021 and January 2025 did you ask him to change something or send a formal email or request a 3-month remedial period? Because I could count here, but I'm sure it's probably 10, 11, 12. How many times did you ask, do you think?
In terms of formal, I can't really say, probably 4 to 5 times. But verbal communication, we lived in the same house, so it made more sense to just communicate verbally. The agreement was verbal to begin with. So up until the end, it didn't make a lot of sense for me to be putting things in writing, keeping documentation. And I really had no intention of going forward with this until he made it clear that he was not going to make any efforts or not going to make any further efforts.
So you had verbal communication about what you thought was insufficient in your housing accommodations, you think weekly, monthly?
Definitely not weekly. Every few months. Usually there would be a specific instance where I was woken up aggressively early, or the dog would do something like crap on the carpet, or there would be an instance with pests such as ants and rats or mice. And those instances would be brought up at that time.
So every 2 to 3 months, you would discuss with him every 2, 3 months.
Yes.
Okay. Dog defecation, pests. Okay. Okay. And Mr. Knight's response was that he would work on it. He would try to improve something, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were there other roommates in this establishment as well?
For the first section of time, yes. There was a third room or a second roommate, or a third, depending on how you correlate it. And that was before the time that is in this complaint.
So before April 2021?
No, so April 2021, or April 2021, we did have me, Steve, and one other person, and he left before the March agreement to raise rent. That was one of the reasons that we sat down to talk about the increase in rent.
So you're asking for rent reduction or reimbursement from April 2023 until January 2025?
Yes.
And during that period, it was only you and Mr. Knight in the house. There was no one else?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, 1 second. Let me just make sure I have that written down. Okay. Do you have anything additional? Do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
No, I don't have any additional witnesses to call.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask a question of you really quickly because did you have a chance to pick up Mr. Knight's exhibits as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I'm going to refer to page 19.
All right.
And I'm going to read a short little blurb, and I would be very interested to hear what you say. So it's second paragraph towards the bottom. However, I am far more concerned about you mistreating others in the future, as such a fully notarized, genuine, and specific admission of guilt for all of these violations, which will be admissible in court if anyone else should bring a case against you, along with a payment of $6,000, will result in no court or arbitration on my part.
Yes.
So you're asking Mr. Knight, stating if he pays you $6,000, you'll make the case go away?
No, I'm stating that I will be seeking a certain amount, and I am sending, this is a demand letter, which I understand is not required in the state of Washington. But I'm stating that the issue is a significant amount, and that if he was interested in avoiding a court case and resolving the issue without needing arbitration, that we would be able to come up with a solution.
Okay. Why do you think you, an individual without a lease, who decided to stay in a household by your own volition, deserves a reduction of rent from $12,000 to $700 a month?
Because the location was unlivable at the time. I literally could not sleep more than 4 hours most nights. I work 12-hour shifts. When I would go to work, I was risking falling asleep on the job, potentially losing my job. And this continued for a long period of time without being addressed.
Those sound like all great reasons why you should pack up and leave a house or not stay for an additional almost 2 years.
Right, and that's why I did once I managed to get a job where I had enough time to go and look for a new place.
So after 2 years, you had enough time to go look for a new place.
It occurred in September that I got that new job, and I was out of the place by January.
Okay.
So I was looking throughout that entire period of time. It took me a long time to find a place that I could get to. I have 2 vehicles, and it's hard to find an apartment where you can actually park 2 vehicles. So those limitations kept me from being able to get out of there.
Okay, so you understand that because you are fortunate enough to have two vehicles that need two vehicle parking spots, that you essentially had to be thankful for your living conditions, even though they maybe weren't ideal
Yeah.
to you, because you were afforded two vehicle parking spots on Mr. Knight's property.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that all makes sense, Mr. Knight. Now, if you could please unmute, sir, and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth during this proceeding?
I do.
Could you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Yeah, Stephen Knight, and last name is spelled Knight.
All right. Thank you, sir. Please begin with your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Well, the dates that Dale has provided, I agree with. We've been friends for about 20 years. And when we moved in together, I guess I would just add that in addition to, inviting him to stay in my home, and he was also sort of invited into the family. He would join. We would do holidays together. In addition to, I would generally cook for the holidays, and we would all enjoy that sort of festivities together. And then he'd also come to up to my brother's house when we had hosted holidays at his house. It was more than just a roommate situation. We were also just sort of, a family group kind of thing. And I protested the idea that I was somehow acting maliciously or trying to get him to leave. That's not true. I would do him favors periodically. That's one of the pages I included. One time when he bought his truck, I helped him do some engine repairs on it to get it running properly. Later had a clutch problem. I replaced that for him. He did pay me for that, to be fair. But I did offer to do it for free. But and when he got that new job in September, he was having a problem with his background check. The company, was having their hiring process involved a background check, and so he was having trouble getting a verification from our high school that we went to together. And so he asked me for a yearbook. I didn't have one here, but I texted my dad and confirmed it was back at his house down in Camas. And so after work that day, I drove down there to get it. It's like an hour away. I just got it and came back. So, and that was in September. This is well after there was like a sort of friction in the house where it was sort of an animosity, but I still felt an obligation to act as a friend if he needs a favor or something, even if we weren't getting along great. And I certainly did not feel entitled to treat him poorly as a tenant or something. And I feel like that's a sacred sort of contractual agreement, and I stand by my behavior. And I'll just affirm I can't prove a negative sort of that I don't have like audio recordings saying like this is the decibel level in the house or something, but I promise that I was genuinely attempting to be quiet. I do listen to podcasts on my phone, and things like that. And so, yeah, he would hear me in the house, I'm sure, if he's listening for it. And especially with the bedroom door open, it's just, you're going to hear things in the house. And I think that's something we all accept.
Wait, I'm sorry. So your statement is that most of the time he had his bedroom door open while he was sleeping?
Oh, always. Yeah.
Mr. Lee, you're complaining about noise, but you're sleeping with your bedroom door open?
Yes, as I explained, I attempted during the month of June in 2024, after I had been moved to the graveyard shift, that I had closed my door in response to Steve suggesting that I close my door to resolve the issue of noise. And I did that for 2 weeks, and the noise increased. It did not solve the problem.
Wait, so Mr. Knight advised you to close your bedroom door? You don't close your bedroom door normally when you sleep in a house with roommates to reduce? Okay. All right, Mr. Knight.
Okay. I also wanted to mention that, he's right that we had the conversation and renegotiated the rent on the 26th of March. Sounds correct. After Willie moved out. And we did agree to the higher price. He did not say I agree to the higher price on the condition that you change X and Y and Z. There was no conditional agreement like that. He did communicate like, hey, I haven't been happy with this. I haven't been happy with the way you do things. It was, I remember that it was vague. It was like I haven't been happy with the way you managed the issues with the former roommate, and I expect it to be better. And my response was, okay, I would I would like us for us to get along better, and I would like things to be to your liking, but please be literal with me because I don't understand the complaints. I understand that you're complaining, but I don't understand what exactly you want me to do. And so please give me something specific to do. And and that's basically where we left it. And he didn't say,
Okay.
yeah, we didn't have like a bullet point of things that exactly have to be done. And I also want to mention he offered $1,400 a month in rent, and I felt like that was too much. And so I said no, 1,200 is enough.
And I apologize. The increase was due to the fact that at that time the other roommate left, so you are now adjusting it for just you and Mr. Lee residing in the
Correct.
house
Yeah.
together. It's a house, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's a house.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I also he gained an additional garage bay. He had one bay before. Now, with the higher rent, he had 2 garage bays.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's mainly that is what I wanted to address and just assure that my efforts were genuine, and some of my my messages I think speak to that effect. I don't know if I need to call them out specifically, but basically he was saying, that I think in the September or November text where he says, hey, this is really bad, the noise is way too much, and my response I think just shows that I was
What page is
genuine.
that, please?
Yeah, please. Let's
what-
see. I'll check.
So you did number them, thank you, but I just
Yeah, no problem. It's page 6.
Okay, I'm on that. All right.
Yeah, so I said, yes, we should agree. We should be talking about it. Can you explain the specific responsibilities you think I'm violating? It's not a snarky tone. I'm being genuine,
Okay.
and that kind of thing. So it just, that
Oh,
was
and this was let's say hypothetically the door gets closed. So he's saying, so maybe him closing his own door to his bedroom would assist in making it a little quieter.
Yeah. Well, I think
Okay.
I think he's sarcastically saying that, like that has nothing to do with the matter, but yeah, my opinion, it's related. Yeah, and then yeah, I guess
I just want to clarify. So Mr. Lee tells you, I have no problem sleeping through trains, even with the window open, but he was upset that you were listening to podcasts out in your house.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. That's interesting. All right. Thank you. Please continue with
Okay.
your testimony. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And he mentioned pests, like kind of implying that the pests are a big problem here. There are ants sometimes, seasonally, and I put out bait and then they go away. It's kind of a normal thing. Rats, there are definitely rats outside. I have and there are no rats in the house. I've not seen any, and if there was, I would consider that an emergency and kind of address that right away. Except for it was Thanksgiving of 2024, so right at the end of his tenancy here, there was a mouse was chewed through the dishwasher lines, and then I had a few weeks there of combating like mouse proofing the pantry and mouse proofing the dishwasher kind of thing. So my point being, yes, there was a period where there were rodents in the house, but I immediately addressed it, and and there's not a problem now. So I wouldn't tolerate pests being in the house. Yeah, I think that's all the relevant things I wanted. Oh, actually, yeah. Okay, I guess I should mention. I included some Facebook posts that Dale made, and
Let me look at them. So yeah, I briefly looked over them because I just So let me see.
So
What page are you referring to?
Okay, it's let's see. They start 14 to 17. And I just wanted to note that these statements are not they sort of imply, I think, when you see a Facebook post like this, it kind of implies that we're having these arguments in person, and then he's going online to say like, oh my gosh, he's not resolving these. I had no idea that he had these complaints. I do not look at Facebook until I wasn't aware of any of this until he was already moved out. And then I went in here and I almost didn't want to include them in a court. I think it's kind of personal, but but he gets into, wanting to take my house and finding that that I'm not
These are very interesting posts. Publicly shamed and still doesn't change behavior. In fact, amps up and nobody in his life holding him accountable. Welp, that's what the law is for. So is it your statement, Mr. Lee, that had he been publicly shamed and changed his behavior, then he wouldn't be here today in a small claims trial?
If his behavior had changed regardless of the situation, we wouldn't be here in a trial.
And you think that Facebook posts to publicly shame someone are just an effective way to instill change?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think that if you are going through a difficult time, it is reasonable to express to others and attempt to create conversation in order to try and understand why another person might seem to care so little as a result of their behavior.
I don't know if you're necessarily creating conversation when I'm looking at numerous posts and no one has commented on any of them except for you commented on one of your own posts yourself. So you're creating communication with yourself.
Not necessarily. Some of those posts do result in people contacting me privately. So conversation does result from my posts. Obviously, Steve has been a friend of mine for a long time, and his particular reaction to my tendency to post is to simply ignore those posts. But I have other friends who I communicate with via Facebook who do on a regular basis have conversation with and discuss various struggles that occur in life.
It's interesting because on January 8th, you state that you've built up $50,000 a year extra in support for myself through my skills and ethic in that time, and at least another $50K more in savings. So you've definitely had the finances to find another place to live. It's just you're stating because, you know, they didn't have spots for 2 cars and you didn't have time. That's why you didn't move, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, these Facebook messages are just irrelevant, but also just not very friendly. But I don't need to be a parent here to say that that's not very kind to do.
I would like to say that all of those Facebook posts are dated December 15th through January
13th.
Yeah. And that was the very last month that I was there. Because of the trauma and distress that I was experiencing through this entire process. I was drinking more than I should have. And so there is negative influences that resulted in some of those posts.
So you're saying they were alcohol-related posts?
Not
alcohol-induced posts?
Not necessarily all of them, and I can't speak to each individual post, but the spirit of those posts, I do stand by. There were legal frustrations. There were friends who were treating me very poorly.
Did you tell to Mr. Knight, I'm not going to get violent, sweetheart, I'm just going to take your house?
No, I never said that to him.
So what is that in this comment right here? The guy who called me a coward was terrified that I would get violent. I'm not going to get violent, sweetheart. I'm just going to take your house. 6 months from now, you'll be wishing I got violent.
That was a response to a mutual friend who had informed me that he believed I was going to get violent.
Okay, Mr. Knight, do you believe that was addressed towards you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then I see that an individual reached out to you to let you know that there was being posts on Facebook, but honestly, that's here nor there. It really upsets me when I have to be on small claims talking about this stuff to a 38-year-old gentleman. I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but it's, okay. All right. Mr. Knight, do you have anything in addition to add? Do you have any witnesses that you wish to testify on your behalf?
I asked my brother to come down. My brother and his family were over very often in the
Okay.
time that that we live together, and so he is here. There's nothing in particular that that I'm asking him to share.
I will not say whether you can or can't. That's purely up to you, whether you believe that you have rebutted Mr. Lee's case and you are finding it sufficient. If you want to call him and add anything, that is up to you. I will not say anything. It's just what you feel.
Thank you. Okay. I prefer, I think he would, I think all parties would prefer him not to need to get involved. He was a mutual friend of both of us. And yeah, I think I've addressed everything, but if you have any questions, he's here.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Lee, do you have anything that you wish to just add in addition?
Yes. So Steve brought up that I was essentially a member of the family. That is very true. Which brings all the more weight to how egregious this whole situation was. I not only was my 20-year friendship with Steve lost through this process, I also lost friendship with his brother and his sister-in-law and their two kids, who I would regularly spend time with and mentor and assist. I would also like to say Steve has claimed that he made good faith efforts to solve certain problems. And I want to give a few examples of things that he did to try and solve problems. Steve bought diapers for his previous dog, Kira, who, as she was getting older, she actually died, I believe, early 2024. He bought diapers for her to keep her from peeing on the ground, and he used those for about a week and a half before he gave up. And so there was constant pee on the ground for many months. And I was fairly lenient about that because I understood that his dog was dying. And he also, after he got the new dog, Buddy, he bought a gate to keep Buddy downstairs so that he wouldn't come up into my room to wake me up. And on the second day after installing that, he didn't close it. So that was the level of effort that he put to a lot of those issues. There are also pictures in the evidence I provided of the quote unquote fixes to the pest control problem with the mouse or the rat, whichever you want to call it, that was getting into the house. Even after he fixed that up, which was 2 weeks after the rat ate through the dishwasher hose, the rat was still getting inside. It was crawling on me at night on occasion, and that was also waking me up. And it actually had chewed through the floor and left a hole, which it appeared he fixed by just shoving some carpet in there. Also, the issues with ants that had been occurring since the beginning. We had, both me and the former roommate had brought it up to him multiple times, and his response was always, well, you can never get rid of ants. So there were no efforts for many years with regards to pests. So bringing up additional pest-related problems was something that we basically stopped doing because it wasn't being addressed.
It says here, though, in your January Facebook thing, I never had a problem with heat. I never had a problem with your dog. I never had a problem with the house. I had a problem with you.
Right. And it's because...
Isn't that pretty much contradictory to the things you just stated?
No.
Issues to you?
So what I'm stating in that post is that it's his behaviors, his lack of responsibility. It's not necessarily the idea that he has a dog. I'm perfectly fine with him having a dog. But the fact that he doesn't take care of his dog, he doesn't clean up after his dog, he doesn't pay attention to his dog, that results in his dog peeing on the floor, pooping on the floor, et cetera, et cetera. Even whining.
So why didn't you just move out? You had
Again,
almost 4 years to move out.
as soon as I could, I got out of there. Like I was literally working too much to be able to have any real time to go and find another place.
Okay.
And lastly, the only thing that I want to add is we lived right across from the train tracks. There is in the videos that I provided, there is evidence of how close the train was. Many times during the summer, I would leave the window wide open. Trains would roll through there, horns, et cetera, et cetera. Never had a problem sleeping through that kind of stuff. His behaviors in the house were specifically the kind of behaviors that would result in unexpected noises. There were even times where I was sleeping with earplugs and head covering for sleep, and still his particular noises, and he would often leave the dog whining, because he would leave the house with the dog in there, and the dog would whine because of separation anxiety.
I've heard this, sir, but your bedroom door was open, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes, I've heard all this, sir. I understand everything. So this is just sort of repetitive. I understand.
All right.
All right. All right. This is, I just honestly, I'll give you my judgment because that is what I'm here to do. I think this is a pretty straightforward case. I think what it comes down to is Mr. Knight bought a house, invited his 20 plus year friend to move in with him. At one point, there was another roommate. There was no lease. It was a verbal agreement. And almost 4 years later of numerous issues, asking Mr. Knight to fix issues, Mr. Lee finally moved out. I think that Mr. Lee should have moved out a lot earlier. I think that was his choice. Okay. So then, sir, if you agree to that, then you cannot be asking for rent reimbursement. You should have made it a priority to leave, sir. You had more than enough finances, as you very proudly stated that you had $50,000 a year extra and $50,000 a year in savings from your hard work ethic. So the issue being that you had 2 cars that you needed 2 parking spots for, you could have found a storage unit or something for a car since you had so much money still saved up, if that was a very big issue to be living with your friend. I also think that the fact that there was a rent increase that did occur from March, April 2023 until January 2025. And you, sir, were actually agreed to pay $200 more than what was requested. And then Mr. Knight said, no, you don't need to pay that much. Shows that you were willing to pay for that unit still, even though you're saying there are all these egregious factors that were very frustrating to you.
Yes, but that was as a result of that conversation that we had in March. And that is laid out in that personal journal entry. That letter was actually a part of that meeting. And that
Sir, I think it's on you. If you're writing personal journal entries and constantly asking for an individual to change something and he's not, it's up to you to move out. You had no lease that you would incur any breakage fees if you were to leave. You had more than enough financial capability to move out. You slept with your door open, which I think is interesting. I feel like you could have definitely closed it. If you can sleep through a train with your window open, but you can't sleep through your roommate's podcast in the kitchen or wherever that was, I think that at that point you were just searching for issues to frustrate you and you needed to just move out.
It was actually right outside of my room.
that could have been probably fixed by you closing your bedroom door.
It wasn't when I tried.
Okay, regardless, I just closed your bedroom door and maybe then you would only hear the trains passing in your window and that would have blurred out the podcast sounds. I'm not quite sure. I think that you had numerous opportunities to leave. I think at this point, I've looked through the messages that have been supplied by both parties and the commentary that's been provided from you, Mr. Lee, speaking to Adnan, Adam, I don't even know how to pronounce the name. I apologize. I see that you're frustrated. I see there are many opportunities that you could have left. It wasn't a priority for you at that time. Earning money was a priority. And so I'm going to deny this claim. No judgment shall be entered in the favor of the plaintiff at this point. So this is going to be resolved with no money being passed between either party. I will go ahead and accept and adopt the exhibits in this matter. So these will be added as part of the case file for the record. Additionally, to both parties, Superior Court, you must file a